In the dark corners of the internet, where digital shadows move faster than the law, a silent thief was rising. He didn't wear a mask, he didn't carry a gun, but with few keystrokes, he drained millions from unsuspecting businesses around the world. His name whispered across FBI files. Abiola Kayode, a 37-year-old cyber ghost from Nigeria, hunted across borders and later caught in Ghana and dragged into the courtroom of justice. But before we start this story, who is Kayode? How did a man from West Africa climb to the top of the FBI's most wanted cyber criminal list? And how many more are still out there, waiting, watching, scheming? This is the story of a digital con that shook the world and the man behind it. A company owner, let's call him David Brown, was one day working in his office, going through his emails on his laptop. Then suddenly, a message pops up. It's the finance staff telling him they have to pay one of their suppliers an amount of money. With hesitation, Mr. David quickly sends the money because of the good relationships he has with his suppliers. In his mind, he thinks he has paid off his suppliers, feeling happy. The next day, David goes to his company, feeling happy for paying out all his suppliers, until one of the finance staffs comes into the room to tell him, "We have not paid our suppliers yet." The face of David changes, recalling the time he paid the suppliers, and even started an argument with his accountant until they went to check the email and he realized they had been scammed. As David stood there, confused, his accountant opened the laptop again, heart beating very fast. He clicked open the email thread, and that's when he saw it. The email address looked exactly like the suppliers. Just one small letter was different. A letter V instead of a W. Something no one would normally notice unless they look very closely. David's face turned pale. The accountants scrolled further down and they found the invoice. Same logo, same layout. Everything looked original, but the bank account details were fake. The money gone, wired straight into an account that didn't belong to any supplier. That account traced later to a woman in Nebraska who thought she was helping her online boyfriend, a man she had never even met in real life. The woman had been talking for months, sweet messages, video calls with someone else's photos, and promises of marriage. He told her, "I need to use your bank account just once. It's for my company." So she agreed. That's the method Abiola and his colleagues almost used to scam over $6 million. This was all a scheme performed by 9 individuals spread across different countries. Some were hiding in Nigeria, one operated from Poland and another Ghana. Adewale Kayode, the ghostwriter behind fraudulent emails. Pelumi Fawe Inini, the guy who provided the bank accounts. Onome Ijumoni, the sweet-talking romance scammer from Poland. Alex Ogunshake, another key player who helped move the money. Abiola Kayode was the middleman, the man in charge of managing and controlling the bank accounts. One name echoed through Accra streets from 2013 to 2018. Abiola Kayode, also known as Ginger in the underworld. He was bold, noisy, and flashy. Clubs greeted him like a king. His lifestyle was ideal, and his apartments were luxurious. However, beneath the glitz, an unseen secret drove everything. Abiola came from an affluent household and was born and raised in Nigeria. He had a strong background with no indications of hardship. He was a bright, determined student who excelled in his schoolwork. He continued attending Unilag after finishing secondary school. But his story took a turn at some point. Abiola quietly became involved in online fraud. He found himself progressively drawn more into the realm of cybercrime by what began as small-scale schemes. Nigeria soon grew too small for his expanding aspirations. Ginger sprang to life after he relocated to Ghana. Abiola established a reputation as a self-made millionaire in Ghana rather than a con artist. Clubs had fallen in love with him. He tossed cash around as if it was worthless. His name gained respect and his face gained popularity. But it was all built on deception. Behind closed doors, Ginger was running one of the most efficient fraud rings in West Africa. He wasn't just a participant, he was the middleman, the point where all stolen money passed through. Every dollar come from abroad was first received by Abiola. He then distributed the shares to each member. He controlled the money, he controlled the flow, he controlled the loyalty. But power always comes with enemies. A dispute broke out between Abiola and one of his trusted team members. Greed got in the way. What started as an argument quickly escalated. Secrets were exposed, trust was broken, and then came the fall. In April 2023, Abiola Kayode was arrested by Ghanaian authorities and locked up in Nsawan prison, a place far from luxurious life he once knew. But while he was behind bars, something much bigger was unfolding. Unknown to him, the FBI had been building a case for years. He and his group were already on the FBI most wanted list. They had been tracing the network, connecting the dots, gathering digital footprints. When they discovered that Abiola was already in custody, they moved fast. On December 10th, 2024, the Ghanaian government handed him over to US authorities. He was immediately extradited and taken to Nebraska, where he faced trial for an extensive list of fraud charges that spanned years and continents. 5 members of a cybercrime syndicate had already been captured. Adewale Aniyeloye was arrested in 2018 and later sentenced to prison. He was sentenced to 96 months in prison and he was asked to pay a restitution of $1.5 million. Pelumi Fawe Inini was arrested in 2018 and was later sentenced in 2019. He was sentenced to 72 months in prison and was asked to pay a restitution close to $1 million. Onome Ijomoni was arrested in 2019 and was sentenced in 2020. He was sentenced to prison for 60 months and was asked to pay a restitution of $500,000. Alex Ogu Shakin was arrested in Nigeria in 2023. He was later sentenced to 45 months in prison. 4 are still on the run, but for Ginger and the other 4, the dream was over. The courtroom was silent as Abiola Kayode sat in his seat, the weight of his actions settling on him like a heavy shroud. A man who once ruled the shadows, now facing the light. It was over for him, but his empire of lies and stolen millions wasn't built alone. As the judge read the final sentence, a chill ran through the room. A man who once lived with no fear of consequences was now about to face them all. His years of luxury, of clubs and fast cars, of fraud and deception, gone in an instant. But the real story doesn't end with his arrest. It doesn't end with his trial. It doesn't end with him sitting in a cold, concrete cell. The real story is about the lives that were shattered, the companies destroyed, and the trust that were broken. The victims who lost millions, the families who were affected by the web of lies spun by this group of criminals. For every scam, for every stolen dollar, there was someone on the other side, someone who thought they were doing the right thing, only to fall victim to the scam. Someone who thought they were helping a friend, a business partner, only to lose it all. But the question remains, who else is out there? Who else is hiding in the shadows, just waiting for their next victim?